Today is November 14th of 2016, and I'm interviewing Jesse Glenn Ray, who goes by Glenn. And he was born on March 21st, 1929, making him 87 years old. My name is Sue Burkholder, and I will be the interviewer. Glenn, would you please, for the recording, state in what war and what branch of service that you served?
Yes, I was in the Korean War in 1950 when I went in, and I was in the Army. I took my training at Breckenridge, Kentucky, with the home of the 101st Airborne, but I never was airborne there.
Okay. All right. Well, to start off with, could you please tell us a little bit about where you were born and your family?
Yes, I was born in Zanesville Township in Illinois. I call myself the little meat pig farmer. That's what I was all my life, pig farmer and a farmer. And I stayed that way all through high school. Went Carlinville High School, enjoyed it, but I had to work very hard because my dad was not able to work. So I came home and worked a lot of days before school was even out. And that's how I started out in my life. Okay. And then I stayed that way all through, even up till today now, after I retired.
All right. Did you have any siblings?
Yes, I had 3 boys. One 58 years old now, one 55, and one 45, believe it or not. Always have to have one late.
I have one like that, yes. Okay, so how did your family, or how did it come about that you went into the service? Were you drafted or did you enlist?
No, I was drafted, and I got a notice that my time was just about ready to be drafted, so I went to St. Louis one day to volunteer. I got down there, and the Navy said they were full, the Air Force said they were full. I came home and told my dad, I said, nobody wants me, they're all full. He said, look what I got in the mail for you today. And guess what? My draft number.
Oh. And that was for the Army?
That was for the Army.
Okay. And how did you feel when that draft notice came?
Well, I was a little worried at first, because my dad was not able to work, and I was taking care of him. But I went through it, drafted, went through it all, and came home and got right back on the farm.
Okay. All right. So when you went ahead and went through the process to enter the service, you ended up in basic training. And how was that? What was that like for you?
Well, it was a rat house. When I went to Breckenridge, they were opening up the place it had been closed after World War II. The barracks was full of rats and hay and coons, and we had to clean that out. And the first 2 or 3 nights we slept on the ground, but the place wasn't cleaned up enough to get in. We cleaned it up and then moved into it, and that was in Breckenridge, Kentucky. They reopened it for the Korean War, and that was the home of the 101st Airborne.
Okay.
And I was hoping to get into the glider school that they were having, and I applied for it, and guess what? The Army did away with the gliders. So I never made it to glider school. I ended up in the plain old infantry until I got to Japan. Then they sent me to tank school.
Okay.
So I ended up as a tanker over there.
So back to basic training for just a moment. Was there anything, any memorable instructors or anything that stands out to you, anything that happened or that just has really stood out to you all these years?
Yes, there was. There was a sergeant there that was a real nice guy, and I got detained for 2 months at there. I graduated with my company, but they held me for 2 months because of he was walking to the PX one night and somebody hit him in the head with a rock, and I saw the accident, and so I was kept as a witness for 2 months. My original company went to Germany, and guess where Glenn ended up? Korea.
So
that's just the way things work in life.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so after basic training, where did you go?
I went to Yokohama, Japan. There I was 28 days on the ship going overseas. There was 3,600 of us on a little Liberty ship. Wasn't room for a dog or anything else on there, but we were all on there, and we were strapped in our beds for 5 days and 5 nights on account of a storm. And I didn't think we'd make it to Japan, but we did. Then when we got there, they picked some of us out to go to different schools, and I ended up in a tank school, learned to drive a tank.
And how was that?
Well, it was fine in Japan, but wasn't too good in Korea.
Okay, so you finished your tank training then in Japan, and then did you go right to Korea?
Right the day I graduated, we went to Busan, landed in Busan, and I got to tell you a story about that. We landed there about 4 o'clock, and they loaded us on trucks to head north up to the front line. And as we was going by a cemetery out there that evening of just about sundown, and they were playing taps. And I thought, oh boy, what a wonderful place to enter into, where you're going, where they're playing taps for me already. No, it was a United Nations cemetery. And it was kind of eerie when we went by and they were playing. That always makes me cry anyway. But that happened too.
So you're on your way then, and you arrive, and what was it like?
I tell you, it was kind of spooky when I first entered in. They put us on a train to go 250 mile north, and every once in a while up on the hills there would be an extra Chinaman or Russian or somebody left up there. By the way, we were fighting different countries, not just North Korea. And every once in a while you'd have machine gun fire come on your train for the first time, and it was strange and spooky. But there was somebody up above watching over.
Sure. Okay, so you take the train to, where did that take you to?
It took us to, actually Incheon is where I went in to get into my outfit. Then from there I went to a little town of Kumcheon. And from there on we were on all over Korea, from the north end to the south end to the west end. Because in a tank outfit they move you around quite a bit.
Tell me, what was a typical day like in the tank outfit?
A typical day?
All right, well maybe that wasn't the best question, but you know what I mean.
It was quite interesting some days. As you know, a tank has 5 people in it. Driver, assistant driver, and the gunner, and the lieutenant. And some days when the battle is going strong, you don't have a bathroom in there either. This is one of the funny parts. I mean, you got to smile when you think about it. When you had to go, you just went right in the tank. Some days it wasn't too good.
Okay. So, how was it driving a tank? And when you came across, I know you obviously saw wartime or battle, but how was it? Can you describe how that was for you?
Yes. The first few days was horrible. The worst thing was when you see 1,000 of the enemy coming at you at one time. It makes you think. But I just can't hardly describe it to you. It was some days really horrible.
Did you just let your training kind of kick in and put those feelings aside, or?
That's what you had to do, put your feelings aside and pull the trigger.
Yeah.
I didn't think I could ever shoot anybody, but I did. But,
so, I'm sorry, go ahead.
It's very hard to describe. You don't have no time to think about anything, only, I hate to say it, getting the enemy. They told us, they said when we first entered the war zone, they said, don't be afraid to pull the trigger if you've never hurt anybody in your life. And it was kind of hard to do the first few times, but my preacher asked when I got home one time, he said, what did you, I told him I'd done a lot of praying while I was over there, and he said, what'd you pray about? I said, I prayed that I got him before he got me. And that's an awful thing to say, but.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, or did you have certain times where the warfare or the battle stopped, or was it just continuous?
It continued for days sometimes.
So did you basically live in the tank then?
Yes, that's what I said. No bathroom in there.
Right.
You didn't get out because you had armor on the outside.
So at the end of the day, it wasn't how you could just park the tank and get out and take a rest. No, you stay.
You go down to the river and wash the tank out.
Yeah. Okay. Well, what was it like then? You had to have meals of some kind. I assume it was the MREs or something like that. How did that work? Did it just a lull in the battle, or?
We had sea rations. We ate out of a can.
Okay.
That's how we lived in the tank. Then we had a kitchen though. When we were behind the lines, the kitchen, we had real good meals, good cooks, and a lot of good friends in there. It was nice to sit there and talk and have your hands washed. And most of us made it, but some of us didn't. That's the battle of the battle, I call it.
Yeah. And how did you deal with losing friends or losing comrades when you were in battle?
You know, you always had real close friends over there, and if one was your real close ones, it was hard. I only lost 2 of my real close ones, but there was a lot of us didn't make it. But when you're real close ones, I don't know why you'd pick out real close ones, but you do. Mm-hmm. I had one from Minnesota and one from Alabama. That was just perfect for me, but things happen.
Sure. Were any of your other friends who did survive, like you, did they become lifelong friends?
Oh yes, I got a magazine here called Never Die. That one of the men's daughters put together 50 years later, and we had what we call a meeting every year, a reunion of the 999. Oh, it was so much fun. We went to Puerto Rico once, went to Maine once, went out on an island and had fresh lobster right out of the ocean. Oh, we had some good times.
Oh. Do you want to show your magazine that you were just referring to?
Yeah, I sure would. I'll show you the picture of me first.
Okay.
This is a picture. Can you get it there?
Is it the one in the middle there?
No, yes, of the tank.
Okay, sure. All right.
All right. No, this magazine, I'll show you the front of it. This man's daughter put this together. It's a whole life history of the 999.
And the bottom says Never Die.
Never Die. That was our call letters, so they wouldn't know our outfit number.
Okay.
We used Never Die when they call us up, and they said, instead of saying, "Hey, we want the 999," and they look, "Well, we know the 999, and we'll blow them out." No, but there's pictures of I'll pick out one right here. Here is some of the pages there. This is some of the whole outfit.
Okay.
Good enough?
Yeah.
I wish you could read this and look it over. It is really nice.
Oh. So when you were not in combat and you were behind the lines, and what was your life like there?
Repairing everything and getting it ready to go in and go again. Oh, it was wonderful back there, though. We'd usually go 2 miles behind the line, and you were still in shelling where they used big shells, mortars and cannons would come over once in a while, but no worry about them. No, it was nice to be behind the lines.
Were you able to just, you were able to relax a little bit, I'm sure, but were you able to have any just total downtime, or were you constantly busy just preparing again to go?
No, we just left off to the Incheon River and swim and have a meal out there, just take it with us, sea rations of course, but no, we had time off.
Oh, good.
Yeah. We enjoyed every minute of it.
Do you recall any particular humorous or unusual event while you were back behind lines and having some downtime?
Well, I'll tell you one thing. Me and my buddy one day, we went to the Incheon River do a little swimming and take a bath, of course. And as I say, we were back behind the lines, quiet and peaceful, nothing going on, sun shining bright. We decided there was a little cove on the other side of the river. We'd swim over there, and there was a sandbar there, and we'd lay on the beach and enjoy it. And the river was probably about 50 yards wide, so it wasn't too bad. We swam over there. And it's just as we got over there, this is an awful thing to tell you, but there was a dead body laying on that sandbar where we was going to rest, dead Chinaman. And it was horrible smelling, and I said, I can't stand it, and we went back across. My friend and I both about drowned trying to get back across that river without resting in between. Things like that happen, but yeah. No, it was wonderful to be back there, though, except that's something like that.
Sure. Well, what was the weather like during the time you were there?
Absolutely, it was just exactly like Illinois. In the 38th parallel goes right between Springfield and Peoria, and that's where we were at, right around the 38th parallel. And the weather was almost identical to Illinois, with the exception of the days they had, what they call them, when it rains monsoons. In September, it rained 60 inches in 7 days. And the water was everywhere. The Chinaman was on one end of the island, we was on the other, and we didn't bother each other because we had nowhere to go. But 60 inches of rain in 7 days. And they sent in some army ducks to move some food around to us. We couldn't get nothing into us, only with helicopter. And I went out to go up to A Company and B Company and see what they needed up there with the Marines there for a week, trying to get things up to them and back to us.
Wow, there's a lot of rain.
Everything happens at once, it seems like.
Well, let's see. How was it? Did you sleep in tents, or when you did get to sleep outside the tank? Where did you sleep?
Yes, we had tents. Headquarters had tents, and A, B, and C companies all had tents. Except when they were out on battle. No, we was in tents probably 80% of the time.
Did they leak during the?
Yes, and they were cold.
Oh, goodness.
But I'll say one thing, when they came out with what they call the Mickey Mouse boots, that was the biggest blessing the Army ever had. I know when they first got the Mickey Mouse boots over there, they sent them, the infantry was supposed to get them first. And well, they sent a bunch to us by mistake, and they never made it back to the infantry. They were so nice. The colonel came around one day and he said, everybody with a Mickey Mouse boot on, he said, turn them in, we got to send them back to the infantry. And there he was wearing them, so they didn't go back.
Oh, goodness. Were you awarded any medals or citations?
Just some normal medals, like the United Nations medal, and I can't think, there was 3 of them all together is what they had me down for.
Okay, and what campaigns did you serve in? Tell me about those. What campaigns or battles did you serve in?
Well, there was several battles. First was Little Norrie and Big Norrie. Then came Christmas Hill, Jane Russell Hill, and Pork Chop Hill, which was the meanest of them all. And that's about there was a couple others that we went over with them to back up the Marines a time or two, but it was no big battle there. There was a lot of, every hill seemed like was named. We'd take it one day and they'd take it the next day, and we'd take it one day and the next day they'd take it again.
And how did they get their names? The hills.
The hills? Well, the Pork Chop Hill looked like a big pork chop, just if you use your imagination. And Little Norrie and Big Norrie was just a little tiny hill, and I don't know, somebody named them that. I don't know how they got it. Christmas Hill, that's the one, everything was going on at Christmas time. And then Jane Russell Hill, and everybody liked that hill. You had to have an imagination.
So, how long did you serve? How long were you in Korea?
Actually, I was just there 1 year. 1 year, because they detained me over in basic training for about 2 months. Then I went to school in Japan, and so just 1 year is all I was actually over there.
And when your time was ending in Korea, was that because it was the end of the war, or just because it was your time to rotate out?
My time up. Well, your time in Korea was observed by the position you was in. If you were in the war zone, you went by points. You had to have 36 points to come home. And if you was in the battle zone all the time, you was, that's 4 points, 3 points a month. So 12 months you would be on your way home. But it worked out better. I know the colonel said, I'm going to keep one here behind the lines. He said, we'll stay up on the battle zone so you guys get home faster. And one guy says, yeah, but he says, we don't like it up here. But we stayed.
Okay. So when your time came to leave, where did you go from Korea?
Well, I went back to Incheon again, and there I waited 14 days for the ship to come in, and there at Incheon was way behind the lines. They had the biggest tide in the world is at Incheon, and the ships can't come in if the moon's a certain stage. The tide's in, and if it's 5 days later, it's out for 5 days. So the tide was just wrong for me when I got there. I had to wait 14 days to catch a ship, because the ship, if the tide is out, is 9 miles from where you could come into land, on the land, and the water moves that much, 9 miles in and out on the ocean, high tide and low tide.
That's interesting.
Different world.
Okay, so when you did finally get on your ship? How was the trek back?
Wonderful. It was absolutely. We stayed in Japan 3 days before we got on the ship.
Mm-hmm.
And going back, it was just 14 days. We got to California, to the Golden Gate Bridge, and the fog was so thick we had to stay outside there for 18 hours before the fog lifted. And then there was the Golden Gate Bridge. Oh, it was wonderful. Stepped ashore of the good old United States.
Mm-hmm.
Made you appreciate what you've actually fought for.
So, where did you go then once you stepped foot back in the United States? Where was your destination?
My destination was Camp Carson, Colorado for my discharge.
Okay.
And we got there that took a train from San Francisco to Camp Carson. We got to Camp Carson, and the old colonel stood before us and says, "Welcome home, gentlemen." And he said, "It'll be 5 days before we can process you. There's that many ahead of you to get your discharge." And but he says, "I don't want to see any of you. You don't need a pass or anything. Just do your thing." So I went up to Denver, and I thought I'd try skiing. I about killed myself there worse than I was in the Army. They carried me off the slope. But I tried skiing and haven't tried skiing since. There's one other thing I want to tell you about before I get my discharge. When I was 5 days before I left the outfit, one morning it was payday. A lot of men were standing in line. Thank goodness my name was Ray. It was at the end of the line, and I wasn't in the line. And I looked up, and here come 5 airplanes over. And they turned the rockets loose on us, the machine guns, and dropped 5 1,000-pound bombs on our company 2 miles behind the lines. And I told them, I said, "We don't have to run." I said, "Those are American planes." They lost their sense of where they were at, and they bombed us. And they killed, I think it was 12, and wounded a bunch of them. And those guys was in the pay line. That's where they got killed, all a bunch of them. And I said it was 5 days before I was relieved of duty, and they came in and bombed us that morning. And that's why I don't have any pictures or any of my good stuff. It all burned up in the tent that day. And they done a good job. And the colonel says, "Any man writing home will be court-martialed." So, but when I got home, my dad knew about it. Everybody, the whole United States knew about it, but we couldn't talk about it.
Yeah.
It was just a mistake.
Yeah. So you were just about out. You had just a couple days left. What was it like when you finally got the release to leave?
Oh, I tell you, it was so nice. Only I was so stiff from that skiing expedition, I could hardly walk home though. Now, when I got back to St. Louis, my whole family met me at the airport. It was wonderful. I'm not sorry I done it. I wouldn't take $1 million for what I've seen or done over there, but I'd never want to go through it again. I'm proud to say that I fought for the United States. It's my country.
Yes. So, from there, sounds like it was a good family reunion, and then you went on home, and what did you do then?
I went right back to the old tractor seat taking care of pigs. I sure did.
And you did that for how many years then?
Oh, I retired in 1994. Moved to town. Hated to do that, but the farm's still out there today, and I guess I'll be a pig farmer all my life.
Sure. So, if there is, can you think of one, what we would call a life lesson that you learned while you were in the military? What would that be? Something that you think about and it guides just your whole thinking about life. What would that be?
That would be your friends. In battle and behind the lines. As I said, when we weren't in battle, we was back there talking to each other and just good friends, and or had to talk to somebody or you'd go stark raving crazy. I think you would anyway. No, a friendship is what I would say it is.
Okay. All right. Is there is there anything else you'd like to show us first? Did you have anything else?
Well, I would like to show you here. You probably know it. This is my grandson. 2 years ago, when he was 14, he wanted an interview of Grandpa, and he's got 30 pages in here of Grandpa during the war. And he got a 99 on the paperwork. And he asked the teacher one day, he says, "Teacher, how come you just give me 99? Why didn't you give me 100? She said, "Nobody in this world's perfect." I thought that was the cutest thing I'd heard for years. That is right. Nobody is perfect. I would like for you to read that someday.
Okay.
I got an extra copy.
Okay, good.
If you don't want to, you
yeah,
can throw it in the bushes.
No, I'd love to. I'd love to. Well, is there anything that you would like to say to somebody who might see or hear your interview, at a later date, maybe the younger generation? What would you like to say to them?
I don't know, just stand up for America and bring it back to where it used to be. And I still say America's the best place in the world to live. I think anybody would be proud to do what I done. It was nothing great. It was just something that had to be done. But I don't feel sorry about it. About all I can say.
Okay. Well, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me today and sharing your story. I really do appreciate it, and thank you so much for your service to our country.
You're welcome.